Shri Sai Satcharita, Chapter 50. This chapter is about stories of Kaka Sahib Dikshit, Shri Tambia Swami and Balaram Dhurankar. Chapter 50 of the original Satcharita has been incorporated in Chapter 39 as it dealt with the same subject matter. Now Chapter 51 of the Satcharita has been treated here as Chapter 50. This chapter gives the stories of Kaka Sahib Dikshit, Shri Tambia Swami and Balaram Dhurankar. The first topic, preliminary. Victory be unto Sai, who is the mainstay of the Bhaktas, who is our Sadguru, who expounds the meaning of the Gita, who gives us all powers. O Sai, look favorably on us and bless us all. The sandalwood trees grow on the Malya mountains and ward off heat. The clouds pour their rainwater and thereby cool and refresh all the people. The flowers blossom in the spring and enable us to worship God therewith. So the stories of Sai Baba come forth in order to give solace and comfort to the readers. Both those who tell and those who hear the stories of Baba are blessed and holy, as also the mouths of the former and the ears of the latter. It is well established fact that though we try hundreds of means of sadhanas, we do not attain the spiritual goal of life unless a Sadguru blesses us with his grace. Hear the following story in illustration of this statement. The first story, Kaka Sahib Dikshit. From 1864 to 1926, Mr. Hari Sitaram alias Kaka Sahib Dikshit was born in 1864 AD in Vadnagar Brahmin family at Khandwa. That is, it was in the central province. His primary education was done at Khandwa, Hinganghat, and secondary education at Nagpur. He came to Bombay for higher education and studied first in the Wilson College and then in Elphinstone College. After graduation in 1883, he passed his LLB and solicitor's examination and then served in the firm of government solicitors Messrs. Little and Company, and then after some time started a solicitor's firm of his own. Before 1909 AD, Sai Baba's name was not familiar to Kaka Sahib, but after that he soon became his great devotees. While he was staying at Lonawala, he happened to see his old friend, Mr. Nana Sahib Chandarkar. Both spent some time in talking about many things. Kaka Sahib described to him how when he was boarding a train in London, he met with an accident in which his foot slipped and was injured. Hundreds of remedies gave him no relief. Banana Sahib then told him that if he wished to get rid of the pain and lameness of his leg, he should go to his Sadguru Sai Baba. He also gave him all the particulars of Sai Baba and mentioned to him Sai Baba's dictum, I draw to me my man from far off, or even cross the seven seas like a sparrow with a string fastened to his feet. He also made it clear to him that if he be not Baba's man, he would not be attracted to him and given a darshan. Kaka Sahib was pleased to hear all this and said to Nana that he would go to Baba and see him and pray to him to cure not so much his lame leg, but bring round his lame, fickle mind and give him eternal bliss. Sometime after, Kaka Sahib went to Ahmednagar and stayed with Sardar Kaka Sahib Mirikar in connection with securing votes for a seat in the Bombay Legislative Council. Mr. Bala Sahib Mirikar, son of Kaka Sahib Mirikar, who was Mamlatadar of Kopargaon, also came at that time to Ahmednagar in connection with a horse exhibition there. After the election business was over, Kaka Sahib Dikshit wanted to go to Shirdi, and both the Mirikars, father and son, were also thinking in their house, but a fit and proper person as a guide with whom he should be sent there. There, Sai Baba was arranging things for his reception. Shama got a telegram from his father-in-law at Ahmednagar stating that his wife was seriously ill and that he should come to see her with his wife. Shama, with Baba's permission, went there and saw his mother-in-law and found her improving the better. Nana Sahib Fanshe and Appa Sahib Gadre happened to see Shama on their way to the exhibition Dikshit there and take him to Shirdi along with him. Kaka Sahib Dikshit and the Mirikars were also informed of Shama's arrival. In the evening, Shama came to Mirikars, who introduced him to Kaka Sahib. They arranged that Shama should leave for Kopargaon with Kaka Sahib by the 10 o'clock night train. After this was settled, a curious thing happened. Balasaheb Mirikar threw aside the veil or covering on Baba's big portrait and showed the same to Kaka Saheb. He was surprised to see that he whom he was going to meet at Shirdi was already there in the form of his portrait to greet him at this juncture. He was much moved and made his prostration before the portrait. This portrait belonged to Megha. The glass over it was broken and it was sent to Mirikars for repairs. The necessary repairs had already been made and it was decided to return the portrait with Kaka Saheb and Shama. Before 10 o'clock they went to the station and booked their passage. But when the train arrived they found that the second class was overcrowded and then there was no room for them. Fortunately, the guard of the train turned out to be an acquaintance of Kaka Saheb and he put them in the first class. Thus they travelled comfortably and alighted at Kopargaon. Their joy knew no bounds when they saw their Nana Saheb Chandarkar, who was also bound for Shirdi. Kaka Saheb and Nana Saheb embraced each other and then after bathing in the sacred Godavari river, they started for Shirdi. After coming there and getting Baba's darshan, Kaka Saheb's mind was melted. His eyes were full of tears and he was overflowing with joy. Baba said to him that he also was waiting for him and had sent Shama ahead to receive him. Kaka Saheb then passed many years in Baba's company. He built a wada in Shirdi which he made as his more or less permanent home. The experience he got from Baba are so manifold that it is not possible to relate them all here. The readers are advised to read a special Kaka Saheb Dikshit number of Sri Sai Leela magazine volume 12 number 6 to 9. We close this account with the mention of one fact only. Baba had comforted by saying that in the end he will take him in air coach, that is Viman, that is securing him a happy death. This came out true. On 5th of July 1926 AD, he was travelling in the train with Hemant Pant and talking about Sai Baba. He seemed deeply engrossed in Sai Baba. All of a sudden, he threw his neck on Hemant Pant's shoulder and breathed his last with no trace of pain and uneasiness. The next story is of Sri Tambaya Swami. We come to the next story which shows how saints love each other with fraternal affection. Once Sri Vasudevanand Saraswati, known as Sri Tambaya Swami, encamped at Rajahmundry in Andhra country on the banks of Godavari. He was a devout orthodox, Gyani and Yogi Bhakt of the god Dattatreya. One Mr. Pundalik Rao, pleader of Nanded, went to see him with some friends. While they were talking with him, the names of Shirdi and Sai Baba were casually mentioned. Hearing Baba's name, the Swami bowed with his hands and taking a coconut gave it to Pundalik Rao and said to him, "Offer this to my brother Sai with my pranam and request him not to forget me, but ever love me." He also added that the Swamis do not generally bow to others, but in this case an exception had to be made. Mr. Pundalik Rao consented to take the fruit and gave his message to Baba. This, the Swami was right in calling Baba a brother, for as he maintained an Agnihotra, that is sacred fire, day and night in his orthodox fashion, Baba too kept his Agnihotra, that is Dhuni, ever burning in the masjid. After 1 month, Pundalik Rao and others left for Shirdi with the coconut and reached Manmad, and as they felt thirsty, they went to a rivulet for drinking water. As water should not be drunk on an empty stomach, they took out some refreshments, that is chuda, flattened rice mixed with spices. The chuda tasted pungent, and in order to soften it, someone suggested and broke the coconut and mixed its scrapings with it. Thus they made the chuda more tasty and palatable. Unfortunately, the fruit broken turned out to be the same that was entrusted to Pundalik Rao. As they neared Shirdi, Pundalik Rao remembered the trust, that is the coconut, and was very sorry to learn that it was broken and utilized. Fearing and trembling, he came to Shirdi and saw Sai Baba. Baba had already received a wireless message regarding the coconut from the Tambaya Swami and himself asked Pundalik Rao first to give the things sent by his brother. He held fast Baba's feet, confessed his guilt and negligence, repented and asked for Baba's pardon. He offered to give another fruit as a substitute, but Baba refused it, saying that the worth of that coconut was by far many times more than an ordinary one and that it could not be replaced by another one. Baba also added, "Now you need not worry yourself any more about the matter. It was on account of my wish that the coconut was entrusted to you and ultimately broken on the way. Why should you take the responsibility of the actions on you? Do not entertain the sense of doership in doing good as well as for bad deeds. Be entirely prideless and egoless in all things, and thus your spiritual progress will be rapid." What a beautiful spiritual instruction Baba gave. The next story is about Balarao Dhurandkar. From 1878 to 1925, Mr. Balarao Dhurandkar belonged to the Pathare Prabhu community of Santa Cruz, Bombay. He was an advocate of the Bombay High Court and sometime principal of the Government Law School, Bombay. The whole Dhurandkar family was pious and religious. Mr. Balaram served his community and wrote and published an account of it. He then turned his attention to spiritual and religious matters. He studied carefully Gita and its commentary, Gyaneshwari, and other philosophical and other metaphysical works. He was a devotee of Vithoba of Pandharpur. He came in contact with Sai Baba in 1912 AD. 6 months previous, his brothers Babulji and Vaman Rao came to Shirdi and took Baba's darshan. They returned home and mentioned their sweet experiences to Balaram and other members. Then they decided to see Sai Baba. Before they came to Shirdi, Baba declared openly that today many of my Darbar people are coming. The Dhurandkar brothers were astonished to hear this remark of Baba from others, as they had not given any previous intimation of their trip. All the other people prostrated themselves before Baba and sat talking to him. Baba said to them, "These are my Darbar people to whom I referred before," and said to the Dhurandkar brothers, "We are acquainted with each other for the last 60 generations." All the brothers were meek and modest. They stood with joined hands, staring at Baba's feet. All the sattvic emotions such as tears, horripilation, choking, etc. moved them and they were all happy. Then they went to their lodging, took their meals and after taking a little rest again, came to the masjid. Balaram sat near Baba, massaging his legs. Baba, who was smoking a chillam, advanced it towards him and beckoned him to smoke it. Balaram was not accustomed to smoking, still he accepted the pipe, smoked it with great difficulty and returned it reverentially with a bow. This was the most auspicious moment for Balaram. He was suffering from asthma for 6 years. This smoke completely cured him of the disease which never troubled him again. Some 6 years later, on a particular day, he again got an attack of asthma. This was precisely the time when Baba took his Mahasamadhi. The day of this visit was a Thursday and the Dhurandkar brothers had the good fortune of witnessing the Chavadi. Balaram saw the lustre of Pandurang on Baba's face and next morning the Kakad Aarti time. The same phenomena, the same lustre of his beloved deity Pandurang was visible again on Baba's face. Mr. Balaram Dhurandkar wrote in his Marathi the life of Maharashtra Saint Tukaram, but did not survive to see its publication. It was published later on by his brothers in 1928. In a short note on Balaram's life given in the beginning of the book, the above account of Balaram's visit has been fully corroborated therein. White page 6 of the book. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all.